Yeah, I'm not getting the weird feedback through myself now, so I think that was the problem. Audio, 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 audio. Listeners and viewers, viewers, can you hear me? Do I have a voice? Now, so I think that was the problem. Audio, 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 audio. Listeners and viewers, viewers, can you hear me? Okay. Do I have a voice? So I think that was the problem. I can hear myself. If I do this, I shouldn't. Don't tell me I have to have this up to get audio. Because that would be very strange. Why do I have no alerts? That's the other thing that's driving me slightly bonkers over here. I shouldn't. Don't tell me I have to have this up to get audio. Because that would be very strange. Okay. Why do I have no alerts? That's the other thing that's driving me slightly bonkers over here. I shouldn't. Okay. Don't tell me I have to have this up to get audio. There we go. That would be very strange. Okay. Why do I have no alerts? That's the other thing that's driving me slightly bonkers over here. I shouldn't. Okay. There we go. What the problem is, I can hopefully that will be a brief little hiccup. Please let it just be a brief little hiccup. Okay. All right, hopefully, now that the stream is back, we have audio. It looks like it's working the way I want it to. Not ideally, but it's there. All right, woo! Okay, so we will turn this set off. This tells me I do have a busted mic, which stinks. I have to see how much a replacement mic is going to go for that. Perfect! All right, so now that everybody can hear me and see me, what a morning. They just dropped that severe thunderstorm warning back over Meeker and Sherburne County, so right now we have no warnings in the Twin Cities. Of course, we get the audio fixed and all the warnings go away. That's about how it's going to roll this morning, I think. Still have a flash flood warning back towards Madison, Dawson, Montevideo, Granite Falls. And then we have everything from Linwood and Delwood, so all of Ramsey County, all of Hennepin County, back into Scott County, poking back a bit into McLeod County, and up through the eastern half of Wright County. Special weather statement for winds to 55 miles an hour and small hail. We have another special weather statement down here, and that is for the area around Gaylord, down towards Nicollet, New Ulm, Lake Crystal, Madelia. And that is again for 50-mile-an-hour winds and small hail. The biggest threat right now is going to be torrential rain. That is our biggest thing. We had flash flood warnings in the metro last night. Soils are saturated. We're going to do the same thing again today with this. The problem is we have more rain coming over the next 48 hours, which is really going to stress the storm sewer system and just getting the waterways to drain as they should. All right, there we go. Now, I kind of feel like I got my vibe all of a sudden now that this stupid thing is working. So let me clear that up real quick. So right now we have no warnings. This is kind of nice. It's kind of a thud at the same time. So like I said, everything got fixed, and now we don't have any warnings. There's no reason for me to be here. Oh well, it is what it is. So let's zoom into the metro here. And that is what it looks like in the metro. All right. Still don't have our radar in Cottage Grove. That went down yesterday. I don't know what the problem is, but it went down hard. Okay. So right now, if you're in the northern and the western metro, and you are on the west side of 35 and 694, that general area, 35E, as it splits into the metro, and then 694, and north of the Minnesota River, you are in a special weather statement. That is still valid. That is for 50-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain. And these storms are racing to the east at 55 miles an hour. And as the Weather Service notes, torrential rain is occurring with us. I unfortunately do not have a studio light out the window here at Black Sheep, but I can also hear it raining. So that tells me what kind of rain we're getting. Farther to the north, I have a line of storms that runs pretty much from Long Prairie, just north of Little Falls, back down to Piers and Page, between Malacca and Ogilvie, down towards Cambridge, Wyanett, Isanti. So if you're in the area along 35 north of the city, so if you're towards North Branch, Harris, Rock Creek, Pine City, you are in line for these. Even down into Stacy, Wyoming, Chisago, you're going to get it as well. You're going to, Chisago, that part of Chisago County, you're going to be much more likely to get the stronger storms that we're getting here in the North Metro. So along the Highway 8 corridor in Chisago County, that's going to be kind of the bullseye for who's going to get the strongest storms there. Right now, nothing severe, just torrential rain, some lightning. Not a lot of lightning, I'm kind of surprised. But at the same time, after yesterday's lightning show that we had here, I'm kind of ready for some storms that don't have any lightning in them. We're in the middle of a live broadcast, and all of a sudden, it just, bam! And there was a lightning strike I'd say within probably 1,000 feet of us. The flash and the thunder were instantaneously together, and we had some electronic issues here in the studio with it, so yeah, I'll pass on that. Zooming into the metro, you can see a few strikes up here towards Andover, but most of the lightning activity is still confined out into Hennepin County, Wright County, right along the Crow River. That's where the strongest lightning is right now, the most lightning. And also, this looks like this area down here towards Mankato from Gaylord, down towards Madelia, kind of following Highway 15 there, Highway 111. So Minnesota 111 out of New Sweden, and then Highway 22 is in there too. That area down towards Nicollet, Judson, going into Lake Crystal. Yep, you're definitely getting some stronger activity. And there's that special weather statement for that activity we were just talking about from Gaylord. Down towards Louisville is for probably 50-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain. Yeah, so right now the biggest threat we have with this is rain and heavy and strong winds. Almost said heavy winds. It's only heavy if you're trying to walk in it. So put this into motion, see what we have showing up. Of course, my chroma key's acting a little weird too because it's not the time frame I normally do a live stream. I don't have all my lighting up. So we got this in motion now. You can see we have the severe storms move, well, the very strong storms moving through the Twin Cities. That arc that runs pretty much Long Prairie, Little Falls, like I said, all the way back through Malacca to North Branch, Chisago, down through the western half of the Twin Cities. Supposedly, we're getting it here in Champlin. We are not getting it yet. It's close, but it's not here quite yet. And that line runs all the way down to Mankato. And that whole area is moving to the northeast here. But back behind, we've got more development back here between Millbank and Montevideo, right along the northern part of the Minnesota River Valley here. But you see that heavier rain area that's not really moving. That's where that flash flood warning is in place. It's also going to be why we're just going to start seeing more flooding problems out here. And you can see the flow. You can actually kind of see it here as it runs in behind this line by New Ulm, by Redwood Falls. You can see all the radar echoes just racing to the north and feeding into this. So that's what we're up against. Oh, pardon me. Coffee. All right. Just watching this activity coming into Hennepin County here. As I said, Black Sheep, we are in Champlin, just south of Anoka. For now, we're going to be moving here in a couple of months. Base of operations will move down into Dakota County, which will be nice. It'll be a better place, better studio for us. But at the same time, it's also going to put us more into the severe weather alley of the Twin Cities, which pretty much runs through the South Metro. So that'll be kind of nice for me as a meteorologist. And a lot of lightning in this. So if you are, like I said, if you're north of 394, north of US 12, and you were up North Branch to Wyoming, up towards Lino Lakes, that area kind of broadly between those two areas, that's where the biggest lightning display is. It's where the most lightning is, and that's moving off to the east and the northeast. The individual cells in this arc are moving to the northeast, but the line itself is moving to the east. You can actually kind of see the circulation of that low pressure. It's actually, the surface analysis shows it back almost into Browns Valley, north of Ortonville. But if you look at it, you can actually see the rotation is actually much further east now. That rotation looks to be closer to Long Prairie, Little Falls. The problem is you have to watch out for a bookend vortex up here on the northern part of this line. What can happen is it can bend backwards like it is, and it will start creating its own circulation, and it will look like a low pressure center, but it's actually just the storms themselves. Also kind of looking at the wind directions to see if it would give me any clue here. Unfortunately, with all the convective activity, it's really hard to suss out based on what we're seeing here. Do a quick changeover. I'm going to look at the satellite imagery here. And there that is. Why am I not getting my warnings again? Oh, Pete's sake. Why are the warnings acting up this morning? This is strange. Yep, they died again. Okay, got it. There's something about this. Oh, now we're getting the rain and the wind. Mostly rain, but I can hear it. Okay, there we go. And we will leave that alive, like that. Okay. There we go. And for the moment, that is actually sort of correct. There is a severe thunderstorm watch. It was issued far enough back that it is actually not in the database because it was done during the downtime. It didn't grab it. You can see our complex of storms, and it's actually starting to weaken quite substantially. It's quite a bit more intense as it came out into Minnesota, down by Pipestone, and down towards Marshall. So you see those darker colors start to disappear, and it starts turning from the black and the browns to the reds. That is that complex weakening as it comes into the Twin Cities here. And that's also being shown by the fact there's only special weather statements on this activity. There's no severe thunderstorm warnings at all. Now, having said that, it is raining with these storms. And I mean torrential buckets coming down. Cats and dogs, the whole 9 yards. But beyond that, there's some decent lightning in it. It looks like there's more lightning coming at us here in Black Sheep. We've only had a few ground strikes near us. Otherwise, it's been pretty quiet. But I'm starting to see more and more as the storms get farther into Hennepin County here. This is all right. Some of us don't mind lightning strikes, but it's also the fact that every once in a while we get ground strikes literally within a couple of thousand feet of the studios, and it's unnerving when you see the big purple flash and the whole studio shakes from the thunder. It's just like, oh, that was way too close. All right, so that's our satellite image. Not really showing us a whole lot. There's our day one severe weather outlook. You notice the slight risk is now totally back in South Dakota. Our wind probabilities look really pretty much the same as the severe weather outlook at day one categorical. Very slight chance of hail in far western South Dakota, and the tornado risk is actually in southern Wisconsin, far southeastern Minnesota, into northern Illinois and far northwestern Iowa. Day 2, we're in a marginal risk. Day 3, we're not even in the marginal risk. It's a little further south. Still in that slight risk for excessive rain today, tomorrow, and slight marginal risk on Monday. Still looking at 2 to 3 inches of rain likely in the next 72 hours. And that could be, if some lucky areas, we'll see 4 to 5 inches. Not that they want it. Going back to our radar, since that's what we've been focused on here this morning, I'm going to go out big picture here. Show most of the southern 2/3 of the state. As you can see, there's a line of storms. I'm going to actually take a few things out here. There we go. You can see that line, and that arcs almost up to Baxter now in Crow Wing, but all the way back to Parker's Prairie, just north of Long Prairie, just north of Little Falls. That arcs all the way down through Mora, Malacca, down to Cambridge and North Branch, Chisago, Forest Lake, there's our close lightning, and over Coon Rapids, Brooklyn Park, about to hit Minneapolis itself along Highway 100, down to Eden Prairie, Shakopee, Belle Plaine, and we have our other line, just an extension, a little bit of a gap around Belle Plaine. We have more storms down from Le Sueur to St. Peter to Mankato, down towards Mapleton and Lake Crystal. So if you see me occasionally flinch a little, it's because we got a very close lightning strike, and I can actually see how much it's raining now. There's just enough light for me to see the fuzzy, almost like Vaseline layer above the road because it's just pouring. And so you get that kind of splash effect, and it shows off the fact that it's pouring as hard as it is. Little surprised we haven't seen some special weather statements for the rainfall and for urban and small stream flooding. Well, they do have the heavy rain tag in this, but may lead to flash flooding, yeah. If you are over in Chisago County, northern Washington County, you are now starting to get into the storms here. More lightning, more thunder, definitely some heavier rain. Wyoming Stacy area, that area is mystic for now up to the North Branch, right along 35. You're about to get into the core of it here. Originally, we thought the worst of it might go through the North Metro, farther up, more towards Wyoming, Elk River, Coon Rapids, and even up to North Branch. And unfortunately, it looks like the worst of it's actually going to come right through the core of the Metro, right through the heart of the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul. So right now, the heaviest rain really runs from about Andover and Lino Lakes back down to Chanhassen and Shakopee. And that area is starting to come back together. I think we may wind up seeing some flash flood warnings out of this. Depends on how long these storms stay in one place. That's going to be the key. If they stay in one place, we'll be okay. If they keep moving around, and they keep moving rather progressively, move out, we'll be okay. Or if they stall or slow down for some reason, we'll be in trouble. We'll start seeing flash flood warnings start to fly. And I am going to change one little thing on the back end here so I can see this better. There we go. Now I can see exactly what you guys are seeing. It's just I see it in a different monitor, so I have to look off camera. All right. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye out the studio window here. It is pouring absolutely torrential rain here in Champlin. But aside from the lightning, not a lot of wind with it. I mean, there's some gusts, don't get me wrong, but I would say no stronger than 20-25 miles an hour. This is not anything severe. It is just a lot of water falling out of the sky. A lot of water. And I think we may have outrun the worst of our severe weather threat for the morning. It's not to say we're not going to have more later, but really, the biggest thing we have to worry about is getting this strong area of storms through the metro into Wisconsin. We'll clear out the southern area. That'll go probably south of New Prague and Red Wing. That'll stay farther south. And that'll quickly move across 35 here and then be over into the La Crosse County warning area. Watching that area back building here, Madison to Dawson, you notice here at the Millbank, there's a little red area that has not moved much in the last, 45 minutes. They're in that flash flood warning already on the far western side of it. That runs for another 3 hours and 46 minutes. That was issued at 4:45. Yeah, they've already seen 2 to 3 inches of rain, another 2 to 3 inches in an hour possible. They're saying 1 to 2 inches additional. I would not be surprised if we're pushing more than that here. Let's see if Madison's reporting rainfall. And if so, how much? In the last 20 minutes, they're reporting 607 inches of rain, which I find plausible, but not really if you look at what's moving through. I mean, even with the parallax of the radar, I don't buy that for a second. I don't. On a video, I was reported no rain, even though they're reporting light rain, so it must be very light. I'll move back into the metro and see what the metro stations are reporting here. Crystal's reporting a light thunderstorm. That was also 6:36. So that was just issued here 25 minutes ago. Blaine should be interesting. It should be live. Yep. Nope. It's still a computer. So Blaine is partially automated. They have the machine just reads itself overnight. But during the daytime hours when they're staffing at Blaine Airport, they actually have a human go out there and do the observations. And so that word auto disappears, and you can tell by the data, it turns out to be much better when there's a human, because the humans can report things that the machine can't. They also tend to track the rainfall and track some of the other things a little better. But taking a look at this, if you look at the radar, part of the problem with the radar, and you'll see everything seems to kind of weaken out. That's also because right now these torrential downpours are over the radar site in Chanhassen, which is right here under the mouse. And so what's happening is it actually attenuates the radar signal, so the radar signal is weaker as it comes back, so it's caught up in the rain and bounces around. So everything looks like it's getting better, even though it's not. This is one of those times I wish I could switch radar sites over to the Doppler radar in Cottage Grove, which is not in the torrential rain, and get a better look at this area up close. But once we get this area through the metro, and it's going to go through probably at most with some localized ponding, maybe some flash flooding in those spots that really like to flash flood easily. The old area around 35W and Diamond Lake comes to mind. Places like that. Otherwise, just some lightning, a little bit of gusty wind, not a lot. Biggest problem is going to be the fact we're getting a lot of rain, and we have this area of rain back behind. And that's starting to fill in even towards Wilmer and Litchfield and Paynesville. That area, if it keeps moving to the east, is going to wind up sitting over the metro for a few hours, and that could spell some problems for us. The rural areas have been primed. They've had a lot of rain, but the soils had a chance to open up and be able to absorb it. Here in the metro, we have concrete and asphalt everywhere. We don't have we can't. I just lost the word I was looking for, but the concrete and the asphalt and the roads and parking lots can't absorb the water. It just runs off in the storm sewer system. And so we have a much tighter tolerance for what will trigger a flash flood and cause problems. And so I'm just looking at this. If you're in Wright County, down through most of Scott County and McLeod County, even most of Sibley, Sibley County, you're out of this. The watch is still valid for your area, but the storms have moved through and have moved out. What we're going to have to watch the rest of the morning is this area of stratiform steady rain from Benson to Wilmer, back down to Clear City to Marshall, back up to Canby and up to almost Ortonville. Does it stay in that general area and just continue to dump rain? Does it become progressive? Does it move off to the east and cover central Minnesota here from west to east and just heavy rain? Another thing you have to watch out for is this low pressure center up here is also generating its own thunderstorms up here around Elbow Lake to Sisseton and back up towards Fergus Falls. But those are not severe. Those are just thunderstorms around the low pressure center. For the morning, this is climatologically and meteorologically the wrong time of day for severe weather. It's cool. The atmosphere is stabilized overnight because of the cooler temperatures. There's no solar heating, and the temperatures are much lower. So it's hard to keep severe storms going. Usually in the overnight, especially up here in the upper Midwest, in the Midwest, you see a lot of wind after dark. You don't see a lot of hail, and you don't see a lot of tornadoes. It's mostly wind. I grew up down here in west central Illinois, down by Canton, and that was the one thing I remember is we didn't get storms in the evening. Oh no. We got storms about midnight to 3 a.m. That's because they would all form out here and then slowly drift east. So we got the remnants of them, and they were still strong to severe storms, but nothing like what the original storms were out here in Iowa and Missouri. But zooming back into the Twin Cities, areas to the west of 35, you're about to be out of this. Wyoming, Columbus, Chisago, North Branch, you guys have really kind of missed out. These storms that are moving into your area really just kind of weakened up. So the strongest activity is south of Osceola, it's south of Columbus, moving through the northern Twin Cities and most of the Twin Cities actually, that area to the south, from Minnetonka down towards Prior Lake is filled in and strengthened up too. Now that it's actually gotten off the radar site, we can see it. So really the northern Twin Cities, we've seen our share. We've gotten our rain. So south of 694 is where it's at. Now 694 of course curves around the Twin Cities. So if you're looking at Circle Pines, White Bear, you're like, oh, we're north of 694. No, not really. Take your line of 694 and draw it straight across from Maple Grove to Matamidi, then that would be closer to where you're going to see that at. And these storms are still growing and shifting some. As I say that, you can see that the line's moving east, but the cells are moving northeast. So these areas down here that were down in Plymouth, back towards Loretto along Highway 55 are shifting northeast. And now they're starting to cross over 610 and 694 and 610 up here in Maple Grove.
And if that continues on its track, we're going to get more storms and more rain up here in Champlin here very, very shortly. Black Sheep, we are up in this general area here. And you can see that heavier area down towards Maple Grove. That's coming up. It's going to hit us here in about the next 10 to 15 minutes. Again, no severe warnings. No warnings at this time. Barely a severe thunderstorm watch. It's a half remnant of what it was when it was issued at 2 o'clock. So right now, the severe thunderstorm warning covers Wright, Sherburne, Anoka, Washington, Hennepin, Ramsey, Dakota, down into Rice, Steele, Waseca, to Le Sueur, all the way down to Albert Lee, back to Jackson, up to Windham, and then New Ulm up to Hutchinson, and Buffalo and Annandale. If you are west of Highway 15, you want to watch out for heavy rain and potential flooding, but your chances of severe weather have dropped dramatically. If you're still to the east, if you're in the eastern Twin Cities, Washington County especially, into St. Croix and Polk and Pierce counties, you still have time left. You definitely are in the path of these stronger storms. But given how the storms look, and given how many storms there are, I don't see a lot of strengthening happen up in the North Metro. If there's going to be more storms that strengthen up, it's going to be down here in the south, where there's an uninterrupted flow of relatively warm, moist air still coming in from the south. Now, that's one thing we have noticed overnight. If you look at our temperatures, we've not fallen below the low 70s, but we've hit our dew points pretty much. Up here at Blaine, 72 degrees, 72 dew point. 73 degrees and 67 dew point at the airport. 79 was a 69 dew point at Flying Cloud. Excuse me, same thing at Cottage Grove, South St. Paul. And even Lakeville, 73 over 72. Dew points are in the low to low 70s, upper 60s. I was going to say mid 70s, but not yet. That'll be later today. But if you look back, all the way back to South Dakota, if you look, dew points are in the upper 60s to low 70s, and temperatures are right there with them. And it's very hard to cool the air temperature below the dew point. And the reason that is you have to start getting the moisture out of the air to get below the dew point. So you have to get dew or you have to get fog. And climatologically, wrong season for fog. And heavy dew and weather like this, you've got too much wind, it's hard for that just to settle out. So what you get is rain. And that's what we see across most of western Minnesota right now. Excuse me. Oh. I was doing a live stream yesterday for a few hours and doing one again this morning, and my voice is like, hey, you've been doing a lot of talking lately. Oh yeah, my voice needs a rest today, and it's going to finally get it. I have to be social at an event here at 1 o'clock. And then after that, it'll be 3 o'clock, and I'll be a free man, and not anything going on until Monday, which will be kind of nice to have a down day on Sunday, especially 'cause it's going to be pouring rain most of the day. Looking at Washington County, northern Washington County, these storms have expanded into it. So north of Highway 36, you're starting to see heavy rain moving in. Wyoming, Chisago, Franconia, you might catch some of this activity that's down here between Stillwater and Columbus. That area is starting to bulk up a little bit, so it might reach out there. We'll have to see what happens with it. There we go. We do still have our severe thunderstorm watch for another hour and 40, basically an hour and 50 minutes, so right up to 9 o'clock. But otherwise, these storms have sustained themselves well below severe limits. As I said, moving through the area here in Champlin, even the strongest areas were not that intense. I'm not talking a lot. I apologize because I've got a tickle and I'm trying not to trigger it so I don't wind up coughing. But looking at the metro, you can see the area is starting to really tighten up right through the core metro, right along Highway 100 and 169. So everywhere from Bloomington to Edina, all the way up to Coon Rapids and Brooklyn Park and Columbia Heights. That whole area, that's moving east. The storms themselves, the individual cells in the line are moving to the northeast, but the whole line itself is moving due east. And starting to see an uptick in lightning again here in the Champlin area, and that is this area here coming up from Brooklyn Park and from Maple Grove and Corcoran. I have another area that's starting to, a little bit out in front of this line, it's formed up from Maplewood down towards Woodbury and Evergrove Heights. That can wind up being a little stronger than the line behind, but again, not expecting any severe weather with this at all. Really, we don't have much going on. We're just looking at some strong storms moving through the metro Twin Cities and moving through the Mankato area. St. Cloud, I have not forgotten about you, which is there's nothing really to talk about. You're getting some rain. And that's about it. Some rain and fog up in St. Cloud. Visibility 3 miles, temperature 69, dew point 68. So about 96% humidity in St. Cloud. And they have reported about a third of an inch of rain in the last hour. So they're getting some rain up there. Again, it's this broader, just more general area of rain. It's heavier rain, but it's not anything like the torrential downpours moving through the Twin Cities right now. However, you notice that area is expanding, but it's not really moving. So this area out here from Marshall, Canby, Montevideo, up towards Ortonville, and back out towards Wilmer, that area's been sitting there this whole time we've been live. And again, it's not severe, it's just producing steady rain, and it's not moving. So these areas are getting a lot of rain because of the sheer amount of time that they're getting it. It's the quantity over quality. No, it's not. That's not it. It's the slow and steady wins the race, and it's just there's time, plenty of time for this to just sit and drop rain. Still watching the Twin Cities though. St. Cloud, you're not even getting much lightning in this right now. It's just mostly rain. There's a little bit of lightning back out towards Watkins and Paynesville. That might move up into the St. Cloud area. If you're big into lightning and you're in the Twin Cities, you've got to be from 35W and east, especially South Metro. So anywhere from the airport south towards Lakeville and Rosemount, getting pretty good amount of lightning with this. Lightning is not done in the Twin Cities and the west side, I will tell you that, because we're still getting lightning in Champlin. Another pocket of more lightning up here towards Delwood and Forest Lake. That will eventually move up towards Farmington and Franconia, and even up towards St. Croix Falls. And that could reach Balsam Lake and Amory here within the next hour. Our line down here towards Mankato has kind of lopped off its northern part. So north of St. Peter, that's weakening quite a bit, but south of St. Peter, especially Mankato and south to Mapleton. So right there in Blue Earth County, that's still a strong line moving through. Would not be surprised if they don't issue another special weather statement off to the east of that. Would not be surprised when we see a new special weather statement that covers Dakota County, Washington County, Chisago County, and probably covers Pierce, Polk, and St. Croix as well into Wisconsin. And that will be just, special weather statements are kind of the cover your butt of the Weather Service. It's when things are strong but not severe, they can issue special weather statements. And there it is. So, speak of the devil. Stillwater to Kinnickinnick, River Falls, down towards Ellsworth, Red Wing, Cannon Falls, Northfield, Lakeville, Birdsville, Egan, Hastings, and Stillwater. You are all in a new special weather statement. That's for the next hour, and that's for winds up to 40 miles an hour. These storms moving northeast at 35. So we were 50 to 55 mile an hour winds here in the West Metro. Now this new special weather statement is now for just 40 mile an hour winds. These storms are weakening, which is what we expected would happen as they moved through. The question was going to be how severe would they be as they moved through the metro and through St. Cloud. St. Cloud has really, you're getting some rain up in the St. Cloud area in Stearns County and Becker and Benton and Sherburne counties. But the worst of it is now through that area. Realistically, if you are west of 169 in Hennepin County or Carver County, Scott County, you're out of this. If you're farther south and you are south of Le Sueur towards St. Peter, Mankato, and Mapleton, that is crossing the river. So 169, you're out of it there. That will move into the Highway 19 corridor and the Highway 13 to 19 corridor here over the next 30 minutes or so. We'll see if they issue a new special weather statement out here, covering areas towards Lonsdale, Faribault, and Waseca and Owatonna down to Ellendale. I figure if they do, it'll probably be down here in Waseca and Steele counties. I don't think Rice will be in it. The northern part's weakened quite a bit. The area of rain back here in western Minnesota, it is slowly starting to move east. You can see that eastern edge. Originally it's from Wilmer to Marshall, and then as you watch it, you can see it slowly move out, moving towards Olivia. So there is some movement to the east out in this. The back edge really has not moved. So it's more of an expansion of that area of rain. And with the bigger picture, really it's obvious where the strongest activity is. Look at this from the Sioux Falls view. Sioux Falls says there's a lot more rain out here from Wilmer to Benson to Ortonville. Aberdeen sees this very differently. Aberdeen has some sighting issues, I do believe. But you can still see that heavy rain from Ortonville back up here towards Sisseton and just south of Wahpeton and towards Hankinson. There's still a column of heavy rain there. And even Mayville sees that too. Mayville sees that heavier rain back here. They see it a little less intense, but they're also looking much higher in the atmosphere than we are from Sioux Falls or from the Twin Cities or Aberdeen. Aberdeen is kind of the radar that's there, that's the easiest to use. I'm going to keep us on the Twin Cities here. Pink. There we go. And we will continue to watch this. Put it back into motion. Well, definitely still getting thunder here. Black sheep. If this thunder would slack off just a little bit, get a little longer, a little lower, not quite as boomy, perfect sleeping weather. A nice steady rain. Got some thunder. Oh yeah, great to go back to sleep. I'm going to watch this. I'll zoom in because I'm looking to see if there's anything at all that would say, hey, this is becoming stronger and could become severe, and I'm not seeing it. Not at all. Concern going into the overnight was that the squall line that went ripping through South Dakota would move into Minnesota. It had a bit of a northward tilt, and we expected that because the little jet was going to grab a hold of it and push it north, which it did, because those storms formed out way further out. They formed out here by Pierre and even back towards Kadoka. And so what happened is they ripped east. And areas from Chamberlain to Sioux Falls were seeing anywhere from 60 to 90 mile an hour winds last night. And so that was going to be moving towards southern Minnesota and possibly up towards the Twin Cities. So that's what we were all on alert for, was something like a squall line or a derecho moving through the Twin Cities. And when I woke up at 5:45, that's exactly what I saw on radar, and kind of pulled myself together quick, threw on some clothes, and was down here in the studio going, hey, it's time to do something. And we had warnings at the time out here towards Monticello and Hutchinson. They just canceled the warnings farther out towards Paynesville and Wilmer. And now we just have special weather statements covering most of the metro. But right now, I would say the biggest threat would be heavy rain moving through the core of the metro. So areas from Coon Rapids, Brooklyn Park, St. Louis Park, Edina, kind of down that Highway 100 and 169 corridor, Hopkins and St. Louis Park, moving to the east. Another heavier column of rain from Oakdale to Woodbury down towards Cottage Grove. A general area of heavier rain up here towards Hugo, Grant, White Bear Township, moving into Chisago County. And then we have just general storms that have moved all the way up into Wisconsin towards Little Falls, Stanton, New Richmond, and up towards Franconia, and just about to reach Amory. Balsam Lake, you're going to get yours here as well. And that area extends quite a ways to the north. I mean, we thought that area was going to stay a little bit further south, but no, it's pushed through. It's up to Hinckley, moving up towards Aitkin. And if it wasn't for the stationary front, those storms can make it all the way to the Twin Ports before they really fizzle. Taking a look into western Wisconsin, you can see more storms out ahead of this whole complex. North Chippewa Falls and Eau Claire towards Rice Lake. And those extend over towards Medford and up towards Phillips as well. Well to the east of our coverage area here. Excuse me. But right now, the biggest thing to watch out for is the special weather statement in the southeast metro. Yep, I'm tired. And that goes on for another 53 minutes for winds up to 40 miles an hour. And there are flash flood warning out here towards Montevideo, Madison, Dawson. That's for central Chippewa, Lequipara, and northeastern and Yellow Medicine counties. And that's because they've seen 2 to 3 inches of rain. You can see another 2 to 3 inches before it's all said and done. Thankfully, the rainfall rates have slowed down. They're still getting steady rain. It's still not moving, but the rainfall amounts are not nearly as intense as they are here in the Twin Cities. But unless something radically changes here in the next few minutes, probably going to take the stream down just because there's nothing severe going on. And these special weather statements are going to start falling off here pretty quick. The one up here for Buffalo, Brooklyn Park, down to Rockford, Norwood Young America, and Shakopee, that expires in 7 minutes. That will not be reissued. Same story down here, St. Peter to Mapleton. There'll likely will be a new one issued, not because this one expires in 7 minutes as well. They'll issue a new one from areas St. Peter to Faribault to Owatonna, down to New Richland, maybe out to Blooming Prairie for these storms as they move east. And the strongest part of these storms up here in the metro are down in the southeast. And so that's why that special weather statement is in effect for Hudson River Falls down to Ellsworth, down to Red Wing, Cannon Falls, up to Hampton, Lakeville, and over to Woodbury, Cottage Grove, Egan, and the southeast metro, all the way up to Stillwater. And that one is in effect for the next 52 minutes. And that is a look at everything that's on the board. Again, no severe thunderstorm warnings. We do still have a remnant severe thunderstorm watch. And honestly, I would say that they will probably drop, not Hennepin County, by the time they issue it, they'll probably be dropping Hennepin too. But anything west of the Minnesota River, so St. James, Fairmont, Windham, Jackson, even Blue Earth, Renville, Nicollet, Stillwater, Sibley, McLeod, Wright, Carver, and Hennepin counties will probably be cleared to the next update because the core of the severe weather has, or what was the severe weather, has moved east. I doubt they will extend this watch at all into Wisconsin. It would be unusual considering we've had no warnings in the last couple of hours. And watching that activity down towards Mankato, if you watch it over the whole loop, you can see it's starting to weaken substantially. So that is our stream at the moment. A lot of rain back across western Minnesota from Haynesville, Litchfield, all the way back down towards Marshall. If we look at that from Sioux Falls, you can see it a bit better. It's that heavier rain band. Out here along Highway 12, from Millbank to Benson to Wilmer, and then following up the Red River Valley towards Sisseton, Hankinson, and Fergus Falls and Wahpeton. Aberdeen shows us the same thing, but showing us more of that western and northern portion up towards Wahpeton and Fergus Falls. Back down along the Red River of the North Valley towards Browns Valley, and then down the upper Minnesota Valley. If we go way out, we can look up here at the Fargo-Moorhead radar. And again, that activity really does not extend north of Fergus Falls. There's a few little cells just barely north of Fergus Falls, and then a couple out here towards Wadena. There's a small arc running through the North Shore, through the Cuyuna Range, I should say. Baxter over to Farm Island, down towards Sandstone, Hinckley, and Duluth would show those better. And that's that northern edge of the line that's blowing through the Twin Cities now. Looking at the Duluth radar, it's much easier to see where that stronger section is to the north. So areas from Farm Island to Isle, over toward Sandstone and Hinckley, Pine City, down through Frederick and Luck and Balsam Lake and Amory, down towards New Richmond and Baldwin. You're in that stronger section to the north. The section lagging behind a bit here in the Twin Cities metro core, and that's Columbia Heights to Minneapolis, down towards Apple Valley, and even down towards Castle Rock and Cannon Falls. So a bit of a gap right over Mendota, and then there's more heavy rain across southern Washington County. Not quite as intense across northern Washington County, but still some heavy rain. Looking at, yeah, it was severe going through Minneapolis. So Minneapolis International just reported, they're reporting a heavy thunderstorm, visibility 3/4 of a mile, temperature 72, dew point 68, peak wind 310 degrees at 54 knots, which translates to 62 miles an hour. That is a severe thunderstorm gust. So there should have been a warning out here when this line went through Hennepin County, but sometimes that's the only gust you would have seen, and that one report does not necessarily make a warning. We saw that last night. There was a 1-inch hail report. It was up in Stearns County, I believe, somewhere out here. And one report of 1-inch hail, and that was it, but there was no warning ever issued for it. It was just a special weather statement. And that's because it was A, a public report, and B, it was one solitary report. Now, if across the area down here by the airport, if they had started seeing reports, multiple reports of hail, or if they started seeing multiple reports of high winds, they would have issued a severe thunderstorm warning that would have run off here into Ramsey County and northern Dakota County. We're going to see the map clear up quite a bit here in the next few minutes. At 7:30, we will see the special weather statements in the West Metro drop off. And I will be shocked if they get reissued. Now I'm looking from the Duluth radar, so I'm getting a much better view of the north. So let's go back to the view from the Twin Cities. Really didn't change much. That activity down towards Mankato is strictly to the south. So I mean, the strongest part of what's left is going to go south of Waseca, it looks like. Which, considering what we had an hour ago, was a very different critter. No, I'm still getting some ground strike lightning. That's this area here from Columbia Heights up towards Coon Rapids. This little pocket right here, starting to produce some more lightning. We just had some to our south and west, which is probably good. Yeah, it wouldn't have been that strike. That was 15 minutes ago. I'm not sure where that strike was. I'll have to wait and see if it populates in. Thing to remember is lightning can strike from up to 25 miles away from the top of the thunderstorm. 25 miles. So the Weather Service's rule is when thunder roars, go indoors. And that is the way to do it. If you can hear thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning. Same thing with flooding. Turn around, don't drown. Don't drown. Everybody says drowned. And it's drowned. I know it is, but my family's Southern, I'll admit it. I say drowned. I say a lot of things that are a little weird to people's ears up here, but that's my Southern upbringing. Excuse me. Looking at this area filling in, yeah, it's up along the US 12 corridor, Minnesota 9, US 59. So Appleton, up towards Morris, Benson, Wilmer, Clara City to Montevideo, up towards Paynesville, Glenwood, and Elbow Lake. That area is just seeing steady rain that is not really moving. It's expanding to the east. You can see this area out here from Annandale and Silver Creek, down towards Dassel, up towards Paynesville and St. Cloud. That's moving to the northeast. A little bit of lightning in it. I mean, it is an active area. It is bubbling, which is why you're seeing the lightning in it. But it's nothing like what's moving through the Twin Cities. And as expected, no special weather statement was reissued here down by Mankato and Waseca. I'm taking a look at our activity. It's got the special weather statement on it. Not a lot, I mean, there's some lightning in it. Definitely some torrential rains. But not seeing any severe reports, not seeing any spotter reports or storm reports from this. That's a good sign. It tells us that it is mostly rain and wind. A lot of rain, some wind. The other thing we can watch for is the amount of lightning that's in the area. So if you look at this area down here, Cottage Grove to Rosemount, down by MSP, that area's got a lot of lightning in it. So that's a stronger area. Same thing up here between Minneapolis and Brooklyn Park. This area up here is producing a lot of lightning all of a sudden. So that area would be an area to watch, just to see if it strengthens a little bit more. It's in the back of the line. It could, but I'd be surprised in the wrong spot. If you wanted to look for storms that could develop and become heavier, you're going to be watching out in front of all of this. So you're going to be looking out towards Glenwood City, out towards Menominee. You can see this area from Clear Lake down through Glenwood City to Spring Valley to Elmwood to Duranda, Wisconsin. That area is actually starting to build up. And so that's an area that you could watch and see if those storms become stronger. East Metro, get ready for some heavy rain, some lightning, maybe a few gusts of wind. Here in Champlin, it was maybe 30 mile an hour at the very worst. South side of the town, towards the airport, they did have a gust of 62 miles an hour. I'm going to check Chanhassen and see what they may have reported. I think it's a little bit too far gone. Peak wind, 28. So yeah, they had 33, 34 mile an hour wind gust to Flying Cloud. And that's about what we saw up here as well. Crystal saw about a 50 mile an hour, 51 mile an hour wind gust. And Blaine did not report a peak wind, but this is a manual observation, so the humans are awake in there now. 1 mile visibility in rain, thunderstorm near the station, which makes sense. Excuse me. Yeah, stifled down. How long does the special weather statement have? 42 minutes. Okay. Debating if I want to keep the stream going or if I just want to leave this up and walk away. I will probably do that because I'm not recording this for posterity on YouTube. I'll just let it go. So we'll stay with it here until about 7:45. If nothing has changed by 7:45, we will drop off, leave the stream up, and we will just cut the audio except for the warnings and cut the studio cam here. No, it's 7:35. It seems like it should be brighter than this. That's the storms on the other side of us. Huh, the ducks are out. Wait, hold on. For a second, I could have sworn the ducks were swimming in our curb. I'm like, that's not a good sign when the ducks can swim. But no, they were just walking along it. Several people in the area here feed the ducks. They put out cracked corn. So we have probably 60 to 80 ducks that wander the neighborhood. They're cute to watch. Looking at the big picture here, our storm arc is running now from Aitkin down towards Sandstone and Hinckley, reaching all the way over to Frederick, just coming into Rice Lake, and Luck and Balsam Lake in Wisconsin, down to Amory, Glenwood City, to Baldwin, to River Falls, down towards Oak Grove, and back down to areas around Cannon Falls. So in the core metro, Minneapolis City, you're out of it. Hennepin County, you are through the worst of it. Even LeSueur County, your activity is dying off quickly. Waseca County, you've got a stronger cell that's still holding together pretty well. It's coming at you. But beyond that, Mankato, St. Peter, LeSueur, Belle Plaine, up to Shakopee, Rockford, Brooklyn Park, Elk River, Princeton. If I just said those towns and you're west of those towns, you're in the clear. That watch will probably get dropped here before it expires at 9 o'clock. Otherwise, I would not be surprised if some flash flood warnings pop up randomly. Would not be surprised at all if some aerial flood warnings, just general flood warnings, get issued out here in this area of rain that just really is not moving much. It's finally starting to show some signs of moving on the back end out here. It's only moving off the river valley there. But this could wind up producing quite a bit of rain if where it stays here today. I asked for quiet thunder and some rain, and we're getting it now, which is why I'm starting to notice my eyes are getting heavy, and I'm starting to doze off a bit here. But yeah, not a lot going on out here. The really big picture doesn't show a lot either. Let me grab my intelligent window here. Take a look at our satellite imagery. You see how that really just, the satellite imagery is the dead giveaway. You see how quickly it's falling apart. Especially down here towards Mankato, you can see we're just, even the reds are quickly fading out. So this cluster is still, it's still got some gusty winds. It's still producing torrential rain, but really we're down to a really heavy rainmaker. And seeing the first light visible here coming in. You can see where it changes to get that blue background. Going from the nighttime infrared over to the visible. Just as a side note, you see in the southwest corner, you see that, or the southeast corner here, the bottom right, you can see that hint of a rotation. That is actually Hurricane Erin. And Erin's going to move paralleling the Bahamas and move north after that. And right now, it looks like everybody may get lucky. The East Coast does not look like it's going to get hit. Bermuda does not look like it's going to get hit. So this may just wind up being a fish storm and go up along the East Coast and then turn back to the east and move off into the northern Atlantic, affecting no one, really, except for some shipping traffic. Just watching the last of this activity over here, and basically Ramsey and Washington counties now. There's some of it still in eastern Dakota County, so areas east of Highway 52 in Dakota County, you've got some strong wind, or some strong heavy rain, and possibly some gusty winds, but nothing severe. And that'll quickly be moving across the St. Croix to Pierce, Polk, and St. Croix counties. The other area is further into Wisconsin from Ceylon and New Richmond and Forest, all the way back up to Grantsburg and moving up towards Sandstone, and then arcing back towards McGrath and towards Aitkin. And that area up in the northern part of that is starting to weaken up some. So that area up around Aitkin, Farm Island, back towards Baxter, there's some heavy rains there. No real lightning involved. And that's getting far enough away from the low pressure center, and it's starting to cross the cool front, which is really going to rob it of its storm fuel. And that's why you see that very sharp cutoff here in the storm intensity. So you can see just that heavy rain area, or general rain area, but filled in pretty tightly from Mora to Cambridge to Malacca. All of this is being looked at from the Duluth radar, so looking a bit higher, and they can see that rain there. If you look at it from the Minneapolis view, it's there, but it's not as intense. That is a radar artifact. Sioux Falls shows it farther west, and even La Crosse doesn't see a whole lot of it. They really see that southeast metro stuff pretty well, but anything else beyond that's getting well out of their area. And they can see clearly with the radar. A brief pause that's developed here, right around Carver up towards Chanhassen and Shakopee up to Orono. Just a tiny little spot there that's not getting any rain at the moment. It's kind of the shadow of this, what's left of this activity moving into Waseca County. It interrupted the storm flow up into that area, and so there's not any rain there. It's kind of a fun little visual of how one storm can interrupt flow into another. And that's why sometimes you'll hear us talk about, oh, there's a line of storms set up along US 20 or I-80, and it's robbing our moisture. That's exactly what this is. It's exactly what's happening here. You've got a storm, all the moisture is coming in from the south. This storm's just ingesting it and eating it, and everybody left behind. It's like, hey, there's no food on the buffet. And there's not. So right now, We have our flash flood warning for Lac Parle, Chippewa, and Yellow Medicine County. We have a special weather statement for the East Metro. And we have 2 flash flood watches. Those are probably in Canada, given... No, but it's way out west. Okay. Flood watches normally will tell you an area, but it's actually out here. Wow, way out. So we're talking about Boise, north and east towards Pendleton, Oregon, and up towards Baker City, which is nowhere we need to worry about. And speaking of Hurricane Aaron, currently a Category 4 storm. Whoa, when did that happen? 145 mile an hour winds as of 7 a.m. Holy buckets. Minimum pressure 935 millibars. Holy cow. That's going to remain in Category 4 up until about the point that it gets up to about the latitude of Miami. I'll slowly start to weaken. You can see how it moves around. Bermuda is about right where the mouse is. So it's going to go right between the two. And what's probably going to happen is this cold front, if it's not this one, it'll be another one, will catch it and start to tear it apart. Cold air and hurricanes they're anathemas to each other. If you have a strong hurricane, cold air is its kryptonite. And so one of these fronts that's coming through will catch that system. And then what will happen is that all that energy will get turned into a low pressure center on the front, and then it will follow the front and race northeast. We're looking at our, what happened to Grand Marais? Grand Marais Airport's not reporting temperatures. Curious. Everything else is there. Well, thankfully, we still have temperatures at the airport. It's kind of a brain-dead observation, but it's there. We get winds, temperature, dew point. That's enough. I think, does that report sky condition? I don't think it does. No. No clouds, no present weather. The big thing here is you can see the difference between the Grand Marais observation at the Bay of Grand Marais, which is quite literally on the bay. It's right on the shore of Lake Superior, versus the airport out here on Double Track Lake, which is a few hundred feet higher and inland from the lake. So they will often be very different reporting conditions. Finding some things to cover here is wait and see what happens with this area of activity. Strongest of it right now is still in southern Washington County, so south of 94, Woodbury, Cottage Grove, down towards Oak Grove in Dakota County, and moving into Pierce and St. Croix counties in Wisconsin. That's our heaviest activity right now. And then from the Hudson River Falls area, it extends northeast from Roberts towards Glenwood City, New Richmond, Clear Lake, Turtle Lake, up towards Cumberland and Rice Lake. And then going back to Turtle Lake, up towards Luck, Frederick, Grantsburg, up towards Sandstone, and up almost to Aitkin. And that will be coming up towards Moose Lake. The strongest that's going to be on the south and east side of 35, going up towards Duluth. The Twin Cities themselves, we've got some steady rain here in most of the metro. Strongest activity is that area down in the southeast. Otherwise, it's just steady rain with some occasional lightning. And that steady rain extends all the way back to the South Dakota border and probably goes back even further. Not about the South Dakota border. So Sisseton to Millbank, down towards Canby, and then so keep going all the way down to Pipestone. No, just down to Tyler. So that whole area is slowly, and I mean slowly, moving to the east. It'll eventually get here, but how much of it's left when it gets here is going to be the $64,000 question. Putting our radar back into motion, you can see some evidence of that rotation with the storm system itself. It was actually back here between St. Cloud and Painesville along Highway 23. And what it looks like is either we got a dry slot or we got a low-level jet that's punched in here. You'll just that pocket of area where there's not nearly as much rain. So Belle Plaine, New Prague, Le Sueur, right up the Minnesota River Valley into the Hennepin County area. There's just less activity there. And that is that little either dry slot or a low-level jet that's punched in and cleared things out a bit. Don't worry, it'll fill back in here real quick and you'll start getting more rain. As you can see, the more moderate rain has started moving into the western half of Wright County. McLeod County has stayed in general light rain. Once you've got moderate rain all the way up to Mora, all the way up towards Little Falls. But it is 7:46. We just have our one pocket of special weather statement storms that are moving into Wisconsin, just crossing the St. Croix now. So Hastings, you're getting another round of storms. You had one earlier tonight and one last evening as well. Those storms are moving out into Wisconsin. They are not severe. They are weakening, not intensifying. Same thing with our storms that were down here towards Waseca. They are now just garden variety thunderstorms. We'll have to watch out for this area of rain to see what happens with it in terms of our rainfall totals. There will be an update later today that will come out, and we'll post that to social media probably around noon. Probably closer to 10 or 11. Maybe a few more hours of sleep here. And then we have our event that I have to be at. I will probably post an update during that event, which will probably be around 1 or 2. And then there'll be another update later this evening. So there will be steady updates throughout the day. If the situation changes, I will definitely be flurrying posts off on social media, and I will have my laptop with. If I do go live from the laptop, it will be a very different experience because I have to do everything on one screen. And so it's much harder for me to actually focus on everything and get everything to work properly at first. But for now, excuse me, there it was, my frog just came up. As for now, it is 7:45, almost 7:50 now. I am John Lamb, your meteorologist here at Black Sheep Weather, and we are going to call it a morning. And hopefully, I don't see you guys until maybe late tonight or Sunday. Maybe not then. It looks like our severe weather chances are actually starting to decrease quite a bit across the weekend. Heavy rain is our biggest threat across most of the weekend. We have a slight risk of severe storms that actually runs for the next 3 days. So that is something for us to be aware of. I can actually pull that up here real quick right before we step out. Here's our day one excessive rain outlook. And that covers the southern third of Minnesota, from the Twin Cities back to about Wheaton south. And then the southern 2/3 of Wisconsin, that's our day one. Our day two, the slight risk moves backwards to the west some. Far southeastern North Dakota, the very eastern sliver of South Dakota along the I-29 corridor. The southern half of Minnesota, again, from about Wahpeton over to Hinckley. And then most of the west central part of Wisconsin, day three. Finally get a break, and this will be looking at Monday. Still have a marginal risk of excessive rainfall here in southeastern Minnesota, from the Twin Cities and Hinckley down towards Albert Lea and Fairmont to the east and south. So southeastern part of Minnesota, and then almost all of Wisconsin except for the Superior metro area. But that is what we're up against for the weekend. Not a lot of chances for severe weather with the amount of cloud cover and rain we're going to have. Heavy rain is going to be the biggest thing, and possibilities of flooding. We will keep you up to date. Again, my name is John Lamb. You've been watching Black Sheep Weather's live stream of severe weather that was rolling through the metro here on the morning of Saturday, August the 16th. We will keep you up to date throughout the day, and if necessary, we will break in for a live stream. Unless something changes and there is an outbreak of severe weather, the only reason I think we would be on for a live stream this weekend is if we start having a pretty substantial flash flood risk, or flash flooding throughout the metro or throughout St. Cloud. We would have to go live for that. But for now, again, I am John Lamb, and you've been watching Black Sheep Weather. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've had a great morning and we found this educational, interesting. Smash that like button, smash the subscribe button. It helps us out a lot here at Black Sheep. Tell your friends, and make sure that they're aware that here in the Twin Cities and St. Cloud, there's a live local person who actually focuses on smaller areas, not just the Twin Cities.